Welcome to the Warsquared Fantasy Football Podcast, a full-service year-round podcast with weekly episodes to provide fans with info on their teams and players. Whether you're a newbie or a longtime veteran of the fantasy wars, Warsquared is the podcast for you. Welcome into the post-Super Bowl podcast. We have a champion of the world, and it is the Chiefs.
Cheeseburgers for everybody.
Chiefs 38, Eagles 35. What a game. The Eagles marched down the field and opened the scoring. The Chiefs came right back and tied it. Then the Eagles kind of took over a little bit until the play of the game, Jalen Hurts' unforced fumble that he dropped, kicked, and Nick Bolton returned it for a TD. Without that, I don't think the game finishes the same.
Without that, the Chiefs don't win the game.
Because
they would have went up 14 at that point in time. Would have probably been as close to over as you can get it over in the first half.
And if your aunt had balls,
should be your uncle.
Absolutely.
There you have it.
Unless she identifies that way.
That's right. The Chiefs would have been super aggressive otherwise in the second half, not the methodical method that totally dominated the Eagles in the second half. The Eagles didn't gamble deep in Chiefs territory on a 4th and 6 from the 15, like they had pretty much done all season and all game long up till that point.
They gambled on almost every fourth down till that point in time. Then they became conservative at that point in time and the wide receivers were wide open almost all game.
Well, it was 4th and short that they went with. 4th and more than 5, he tends to kick or punt.
Yeah.
Taking the 3 points was the smart move. They just asked the Los Angeles Chargers how that would work for them a couple of years back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020.
He did the right thing statistically and football knowledge wise.
I mean, it's too hard to get points in that league. Take the points when you can get them. 4th and 6 is not. I don't know the analytics chart, but I can't see that that's better than 50%.
Maybe a 17 to 20% chance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it would have been tough, but it would also pin them deep. You know, the other thing then, of course, the Chiefs, that allowed them to come back. They had to score. They went down and scored. Then the Eagles came back and had to get a 2-pointer to tie. The final drive ended with what should have been a non-controversial holding call. The thing that they've talked about on a bunch of different shows is that the reason that people are so mad about this is because we were deprived of a drive for the Eagles to try to get a field goal or a touchdown.
The thing that upset me, Colin, why I said that was a weak call was because they could literally throw that flag on every passing down if they wanted to on any defensive back. Why did they choose to do it at that point in time in the game? It's a time and place event. If it was first quarter, who cares? Fourth quarter with the 3rd and 8 with the game on the line, why do you throw it then? You don't throw it the other 5 times during the game you could have.
Well, I mean, yeah, you look at the key 3rd down that they didn't call that was as blatant or more.
Yeah,
on Juju as well.
And Bradbury said, I held him. And that, at that point in time, you lose any battle you want to argue with about that point in time because the man admitted to the hold.
Right. The other thing, too, that they brought up on a couple of shows I've seen is that think about how tight these jerseys are. For you to see somebody pull the jersey and you to see it pull away from them, they're pulling on them pretty good.
Well, he held him not once, but twice, actually.
Yeah,
but the first one is really the egregious one.
Yeah.
When he was coming, that in and out is what was killing the Eagles at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And it did again there. But he was beat, did the grab, and when you see that jersey expand 12 inches, that's a pretty damn good hold. But that's not the one that most of your shows are showing. They're showing the second one where it looks like his hand's on his hip a little, and that's a much less. I agree. If that was all there was, I would have said keep the flag. Even as a Chiefs fan, said
even the whole
flag
thing
in the pocket.
Is the worst thing about NFL officiating is the inconsistency in the calls.
Mm-hmm.
They could literally call
but the commissioner said that the officiating has never been better.
when the commissioner's on crack.
Smoking it, snorting it, mainlining it.
Doesn't
all
matter.
the above.
You can literally call a hold on every play.
Oh, yeah.
You can literally call pass interference on every play, both offensively and defensively in most cases. There are so many calls that aren't called, or calls that called that there's a holding play by the right tackle on a screen pass to the left that has nothing to do with the play that they call. That's my only complaint about it. And one of the things that Major League Baseball's done, as a comparison, they have addressed their officiating problems with the electronic umpire calling balls and strikes. Everything else at that point in time is pretty much cut and dried. NFL's got to figure out a way to get this done. Placement of the ball, they admitted there's a chip in the ball. So why do we not get the exact science of how far the ball went to be able to score touchdowns rather than reviewing it or placing the ball? They've got to clean up the consistency of the calls has got to be cleaned up in the game.
Yeah, I think in this particular instance, as I heard it described, is that official. I mean, they're supposed to not look at the clock. They're not supposed to look at the scoreboard. It's each plays. It's like a spin on the roulette wheel. That was easy for me to say. Leave it to me to go to a gambling analogy here. But every spin is an independent action. So when you're sitting there and you see that it's been red 9 times in a row, and your mind says, "Oh, it's got to be black." Mm-hmm. Well, maybe.
If I flip a coin 9 times in its head, what's the chance of being heads in the 10th flip?
Yeah, but the fact that it's been red 9 times has no impact at all. And so that's what they're supposed to do with each play. It's supposed to be its own living, breathing microcosm. And that referee sits there and he looks and he sees the hold, sees the jersey pull. Yes, that's a hold. Yes, I throw the flag, irrelevant of the time and place.
Right. And that's what thing, just like NBA basketball, college basketball, you never get a foul in the last 2 seconds of a game because you don't. I mean, manslaughter could be probably pulled off on the court and not called at that point in time.
Well, they don't call anything in the NBA anymore. I mean,
yeah, the consistency of the NFL officials has got to be taken care of. I mean, we have crews that throw 5 flags a game. We have another crew that throws 29 flags a game.
Well, I think they need to get to where they have full-time officials too, though.
If we're watching the same games, why aren't there roughly the same number of penalties per team? Now, I understand some teams are cleaner than other teams are, and some teams might not have the talent level, so they might get more flags. But it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be one team has 500%. One game has 500% more penalties than what another game does, and that's consistently crew by crew throughout the season.
Sure. Yeah, and then we've got the whole other issue of whatever happened to the field.
Oh, that field was horrible.
Whatever happened to it, it was not in game playing condition. And Tobin and I talked a little bit about it on Monday, and I kind of think that it has something to do with the trays. Mm-hmm. And like Tobin and I talked about, the water is retained somehow in these trays, and somebody made the comment about it's a humidity issue even, because it's not, once you bring it inside, it's not getting the same amount of air moving across it, and drying it out or anything like that. It just holds all that moisture.
All that damn paint on the field too. That had more paint on the field than most buildings in Arizona right now.
Now, I did see Orlando Brown on Dan Patrick this morning, and he said, well, I didn't have any problems with footing. Well, yeah, but nobody else is 380 pounds and probably has a size 14 or 16 shoe or whatever like that. Yeah, it's pretty easy. And you're not trying to cut a corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, I listened to a snippet of the Kelce brothers on their recent edition. And Jason said, to me, I want as many variables as there are, because I'm going to figure it out. And if you don't, I'm going to kick your butt.
I'm ahead.
And he said, that's something you do in pregame. You make your adjustments, you figure it out, and you go. And he said, some guys did, some guys didn't. He said, my molded cleats were great. I didn't slip a single time. And Travis is like, I didn't either. And they're very different in what they do on the football field.
Very different positions.
Sure. One is brute force, push forward, stuff like that. The other one's run, cut, adjust. And they both were fine. So,
yeah. But I mean, I saw AJ Brown slip. Mm-hmm. I saw Hassan Reddick slip.
I saw Chris.
But everybody played on the same field, and some guys had a lot of problems and some guys didn't. And to me, they made such a big deal of the Eagles changing cleats, and they didn't make any statements, at least, that the Chiefs are over there changing cleats. So maybe somebody did their homework better than somebody else.
It goes back to what we covered a couple of weeks ago. Why don't we have the same consistency of the fields as what we do?
Oh, yeah.
We have grass fields in Green Bay. We have grass fields in Chicago. We have grass fields in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen grass grow in those locations in the middle of December and January. Even from mid-October on, they don't really grow that well.
Yeah, I mean, they still grow. They've got the grow lights. They've got the heat blankets. They've got, the subsurface temperature.
Not the same footing.
No, it's not
going to be a soggy.
But that also brings, to me, that also brings something to the home field advantage. But these tray systems are crap. But I did also hear somebody say that the tray normally is outside until the night before the game, and this one was in since Tuesday night. Was in the building. So Tuesday or Wednesday night.
Probably goes back to your point. There's nothing going through the, it's all just held in.
Well, when you see them pull that out and you look at the stadium floor and it's concrete, it's clean.
Yep.
It's not like the water's draining through and you've got that muck in the soil, and so it's being held there somewhere. And so I think I mean, if George Toma can't figure it out, nobody can. Get rid of the damn trays.
Right. I think they should just go to the same standard field in all 32 fields and get it over with. That way we can get a true value upon what injuries are like in the NFL, not follow from, like Tennessee has an injury issue. Other teams don't. Let's find out why Tennessee's having an injury issue. Let's get as many variables as we can taken out of the equation so we get more player safety at that point in time.
I agree. Getting back to the game, Pat won the MVP, 182-3, 44 yards on the ground, which was amazing, especially after he re-injured his ankle right before the half. Pacheco was a monster on the ground, 76-1, took a huge hit.
2 huge hits.
Lit up on the sidelines that one play. Oh my goodness.
But how was the one where he got that was definition of spearing.
Yeah, he definitely led with the helmet.
Round of the helmet, launched straight in. I mean, come on. Back in the day, you're done.
Oh, back in the day, that was standard play.
Yeah.
Back in the day, that was a spear to the chest was acceptable.
If that's today's college game,
he's
targeting and he's out.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. Kelce, 6 for 81-1. Tony and Sky Moore caught the other 2 TDs from Mahomes. For the Eagles, it was mostly the Jalen Hurts show, and he put on a huge performance. 304-1 through the air, 70-3 on the ground, including a 2-point rush. His one TD went to A.J. Brown, who was 6 for 96, and Devontae Smith was 7 for 100 and was virtually unguardable, I thought.
Yes.
Should have had one more reception, another 30-ish yards. I have a real problem with the replay slowing things down and looking at a frame-by-frame scenario to what is or isn't a catch. It's kind of...
It should be done in real time, not frame by frame.
Yeah, but you can go the same way and go back the other end on the one they ruled no catch that should have been a touchdown then.
Yeah, and I think it should be viewed in real time. It's real time.
Yeah.
This crap of being able to go frame by frame and zoom in to see if that blade of grass moved.
Yep.
Oh, it moved. The ball touched. Yep, it's no good.
It's just like now in replay in baseball where you can slow it down so much that it's microscopic and you're like, ooh, he just got him before his toe got on the back.
Or he just came off the base by a fraction.
That's the worst one.
Yeah.
When your foot comes up over the top of the bag and he's holding the glove on you. Oh, come on. Really? Come on.
Yeah, at some point in time, common sense has to come into play.
Well, it's spirit of the game. I mean, it's how is this designed to be played?
That is exactly the spirit of the game. That's exactly the words we need to look at as spirit of the game.
And the fact that we have to have so many paragraphs of rules about what happens to complete the process of a catch, we are definitely over legalizing it. That's not what I
knew we should have called Dez to see if he wanted to call in for tonight's show. Damn it.
I told you, Dez, we need Dez to define. He needs to be in New York. That was a catch.
Damn it.
That wasn't a catch. I'm trying to do my best Dez impersonation, and it kind of blew, didn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, sorry.
Then the only other thing, Goddard was 6 for 60, and Kenneth Gainwell way outperformed Miles Sanders. I do not see how they resign Miles Sanders in Philadelphia.
He had a good season. Had a really good season.
I hear
part of the reason why he's there.
I hear Bijan's in their targets for the draft.
I looked at 2 mock drafts this week, yesterday and today, and Bijan is projected to go to them with the 31st pick. And by the way, folks, he ain't going to be their 31st pick.
No, they'll have to go with the earlier pick to get him. Yeah,
they'll have to go with the 10th pick at the latest.
If the player they want is gone by 10, they'll just trade back and stockpile some more picks because they're going to have to get cheaper because they're going to pay Jalen this year. Things I had for plays of the game. We'll see what you guys think. The Jalen Hurts fumble return for a TD. I thought that
was the tone changer.
Really kept the Chiefs from being way behind. The Kadarius Toney punt return. That really blew the game open. And apparently they had planned for this.
Did you see the still frame? Somebody caught a still frame of him, and he's literally, there's 6 Eagles around him. It's before he cuts it back and reverses field. There's 6 Eagles around him. Not a Chief in the frame other than him. It looks like he's getting ready to get swallowed whole, and then gone.
That's Kadarius Toney, the trade that Veach made for him, not only did it change the effect of the season of the games this year, especially this one, imagine what it's going to do next year, year after that, year after that, year after that, because they got a first-round draft pick for what, a fifth?
Yeah.
Well,
one of the most talented.
Yeah, the next 2 years, because he'll be on the cheap contract, and then they'll have to make the decision of whether or not they're going to
give him the fifth,
exercise the fifth-year option or not.
Yeah, and it's just amazing the job that Veach has done in retooling them with 11 rookies.
Well, and the key thing about
trades that he made this year to get them where he's at, is absolutely, he should be the executive of the year, and he wasn't, and I don't understand why.
And you throw that in there, and everybody else is looking to the left. Everybody's thinking, "Where's the OBJ going? Where's OBJ going?" And then, we'll pick up Kadarius Toney, and everybody's like, "What the hell's that move?" Worked out all right.
Worked out well.
Like
holy crap!
Yeah, and this is also Juju Smith-Schuster insurance.
Yeah,
if he doesn't want to sign a team-friendly deal, fine.
Walk. See you later.
Yeah, I don't see us affording him next year.
I don't see why you have to afford him next year. He's a luxury you guys can't afford.
Yep. Eagles kicking a field goal, not going for TD on 4th and 6 from 15th. I'm coming back to that.
I don't have a problem with that one.
That's a tough crowd telling a guy to go on 4th and 6 in the NFL.
He put the points on the board, which is what he was supposed to do, to put them in a position to be able to tie the game with the 2-point conversion. But he goes for it and misses, the game's over with.
And he's running out of town.
Maybe.
There's no maybe about it.
Maybe.
It's Philadelphia where they cheer bad landings and boo Santa Claus.
Yeah, maybe. Key stats, 0 sacks by the Eagles.
That was the best shirt of the parade today, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw any of the parade.
No.
The O linemen, one of them had a big 0. It was almost like an Oregon O, sacks, and the other one said there were 0 effing sacks. Something about that. Take that and smoke it or something.
Well, Orlando Brown, I guess, said put that on a T-shirt.
Yeah, put it on a T-shirt. That's what it was.
And so they put it on T-shirts.
They put the whole thing on T-shirts. It is fantastic. I got to get one.
3 rushing TDs by Jalen Hurts. We've never seen a quarterback have more than 2 in a Super Bowl. And then
haven't seen many running backs have more than 2.
Exactly.
And Kadarius Toney almost had the first Super Bowl punt return for a TD, but set the record at 65 yards.
There was 2 plays in this game that changed the tone of the game. Kadarius Toney punt return and the fumble return. That was the 2 tone changers that changed the game back, changed the momentum back to the Chiefs side at that point in time when the Eagles were really had the Chiefs on the ropes both times. And both times Chiefs got the big plays they needed to go, just as scripted by the NFL according to what I've seen on TikTok and stuff.
So we finish up with our playoff predictions. Tobin gets to 10-4 thanks to his +1 for having the Chiefs. Actually, you're 11-4 because you had the Chiefs and the Chiefs winning it.
Yeah, wow.
He's 10-4. That you have it right. There's 13-13. That's 14. So you're right.
No, he gets 2 +1s because he had a Super Bowl team and then the Super Bowl team that won it.
Quit giving him extra leverage to kick our ass.
Well, I mean, facts is facts.
I mean, know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
I mean, the man won. He won the league this year. He won the picks this year. He won the playoff picks. What more do you want this man to do?
You want me to give you the jersey off my back?
He's already kicked our ass several times. Do we have to keep? Do we have to keep asking him for more? Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
All is well. So, I mean, I was closest on points. I had 53 and it was 73.
Yeah, they definitely paid.
Yeah, we all got blasted out of that one.
Yep. That was crazy. So the big news that came out this week, of course, the Eagles lost both coordinators. Shane Steichen went to the head coach of Indianapolis and Jonathan Gannon's head coach at Arizona. Great video of Gannon getting out of signing his contract. He's getting ready to walk out and they go, "Oh, Kyler's here. You want to meet him?" Absolutely. And he goes and meets him. They shake hands and stuff like that and kind of pumps him up. I mean, Kyler's walking around no crutches, so that's got to be
ready. No, he won't be ready by the time.
Positive.
He will not be ready by the time the season starts.
No chance. And no chance they'll put him back out there. I don't think he plays this year.
No, news that's not here. It looks like your team has a new offensive coordinator in the makings.
Well, he was supposed to interview tonight. He was going to leave the parade and fly to Washington. Eric Bieniemy was going to fly to Washington and interview for the OC position.
Andy Reid pretty much gave him the kiss of, "You got to get the hell away from me."
He does, because he's had 5 years of coaching Pat Mahomes, and he's had 15 head coach interviews,
3 Super Bowl appearances, 5 AFC West championships, and 5 times they've been the number one. They've hosted the AFC championship game, and the man can't get a head coaching job because everybody thinks Andy Reid's doing the play calling.
Right. So if he wants to, I mean, we've got weapons in Washington.
But do you have a trigger?
No, we don't have a quarterback, but
there goes the trigger.
But here goes somebody who could maybe coach us into where he's good enough.
I hope Erwin goes to the Commanders and has an incredible season and gets a head coaching job next year.
I mean, I'll take the Washington receiving core over the Chiefs receiving core. You put those same receivers from Washington with Pat Mahomes, it's the greatest show on turf.
Do you get Kelce? Who gets Kelce?
We'll keep him, thanks.
I mean,
you said receivers. He's a receiver.
The receiver core. All 3 of the receivers, Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, and Curtis Samuel, they are better than any receiver the Chiefs have.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that.
What makes the Chiefs work
now?
We don't have
is Kelce.
Nobody has a tight end that can compare to Travis Kelce. Okay. I mean, it doesn't matter. We lose that part of it, but on the whole, our core is better.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Now, if Kelce goes in that group, then Kelce makes that group better than your group.
No way.
You did see the most yards, the most points, the best offense. You know who he did that with, right?
Right.
It wasn't just Kelce.
But that's
Kelce was
Kelce and Pat make everybody else better around them.
Kelce is the reason why the Chiefs wide receivers were effective because they have to fail. They have to account for him every single play with 1 or 2 people.
The Chiefs this year are more effective because Pat doesn't have to force the ball to one of their wide receivers.
Oh, I don't disagree.
He can throw it to whomever is open.
One of the main reason why the Chiefs offense is so good besides Pat is Kelce.
Yeah. He makes everybody better. He puts a lot of lipstick on the pig.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, when you go look at that, I mean, holy crap. Everybody thought, I mean, as Kelce said today, go back to April of last year, everybody's counting them out. They're down. It's a rebuilding year. They're not even going to make the playoffs. Yes, they're not even going to the West. Maybe third. I mean, I guess I'll take a Super Bowl championship in a rebuilding year.
Well, yeah.
But when you go look,
rebuilding looks like in Kansas City.
You go look at Juju, you look at MVS, you look at, I mean, Tony, we haven't even scratched the surface with what Tony's going to bring to the table. You get Sky Moore, who's got the speed. Yeah, your guys might have better Madden ratings, but I'll take my unit and roll it out on the field with Pat and Kelce.
Oh, with Pat, for sure. But if you're just grading units against units, I mean, it's kind of like we're grading, if we, pre-Super Bowl, we graded the Eagles' offensive line better than the Chiefs' offensive line.
Yes, we did.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to look at that and go, I'm not sure. And the Chiefs' offensive line put on a hell of a show.
I think the Eagles' offensive line put on a hell of a show too. They put up 35 points.
Yeah, neither one of those teams. I mean, that was a heavyweight fight.
It was not the offensive line for the Eagles that lost in the game.
That is true.
Yeah, and when you look at it, that Chiefs O-line, I think everybody thought, I saw several people on the shows talking about how, what that Bucs defensive front did to the Chiefs O-line 2 years ago in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got news for you folks. This isn't the same offensive line.
No.
It's
they were decimated going into that game against
younger,
the Bucs.
It's more
fluid. Was it Wiley was the only one that was?
I think so.
Yeah, four of the five original starters were out for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But Wiley's the only one.
Wiley's the only holdover in that group that played.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'll take that Chiefs front. No, we'll take the rebuilding. I'm good.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about Steichen a little bit. Now, what I didn't know about Steichen before the past couple of days was he was the coordinator in Los Angeles for the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
When in Justin Herbert's rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
When he was going buck wild, throwing the ball everywhere.
Yep.
And he's not doing that currently.
No.
So, and I love what Steichen said in his not interview, in his press conference announcing him as a coach, he said, it doesn't matter what my offense is. It's going to be tailored to whoever our quarterback is.
Who's going to be a rookie?
More than likely, it's going to be whoever they decide they want more between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud.
It depends upon what the cost is to move to get their choice.
The cost doesn't matter to the Colts.
I don't disagree. They're going to pay they're going to pay the cost whatever they want.
I've heard it's the fourth, their second, which is 35, a fifth, and a next year's first.
You pay that cost and go up and get your quarterback at that point in time.
That's whoever they decide, they go get him.
That's not as extreme as what I was expecting to be. If I was the Bears, I'd hold out for a first this year, a first next year, a second this year, a second next year, and a first in 3 years.
They'll never get it.
Really? Somebody gave up 3 firsts for Trey Lance with the 4th pick.
But they moved from 12 to 3. They're not moving from 4 to 1.
There's a lot of rumors.
Depends on what the quarterback market looks like and how much you value the guy you want.
Mm-hmm. They paid more to move up 2 picks to get Ryan Leaf in 1998. Arizona gave up 2 firsts.
It wasn't seconds. Arizona. It was San Diego.
San Diego gave up 2 Arizona. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 3 players or something like that to move up 2 picks.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very
the latest one. Well, we'll talk about that. We got draft stuff coming up.
Yeah. The other thing, of course, Derek Carr yesterday on Valentine's Day was cut loose by the Raiders. Speculation currently running rampant is that the Jets could be the best destination for him since there's no compensation due for Carr like there will be for the Raj. Now, the Jets have requested permission to talk to Aaron Rodgers.
Is this in the dark or in the light?
I think you're going to have to wait till he comes out of the dark.
That'll be 2 more days.
So he'll be blinded by the light? Oh,
possibly.
You like that one, didn't you?
That was a good deep cut there.
Okay. Here's a rumor that I read today that of the 2 choices between Tannehill and Carr, the Jets would rather have Tannehill. And they're willing to trade to get Tannehill from Tennessee, so Tennessee would then sign Carr to replace him. At that point in time, I'm going, please.
Yeah, that's an upgrade big time for the Titans.
Wow. I would never do that if I was the Jets.
I mean, I wouldn't give up a pack of nachos for Tannehill.
Tannehill was the games he played, the full game, he was the 11th rated quarterback in the NFL.
I mean, he's Chad Pennington 2.0 for the Jets.
He has a better arm.
Yeah, maybe.
And they're also the coaching staff, the new offensive coordinator, has a history with Tannehill from Miami all the way up through to present day.
If I'm the Jets, I'd rather have Carr out of that deal.
Yeah.
But Carr's going to be more expensive than what Tannehill's going to be. He's going to want a more long-term contract than Tannehill because Tannehill's 36, I believe.
Yeah.
As compared to 32 with Carr.
Yeah. You definitely the Jets are contenders next year with Carr.
They'll be contenders with Tannehill too.
No.
Yes.
They might make the playoffs. Well, I don't think they're contenders.
They're playoff contenders is what I was going for.
They're contenders but they are not Super Bowl contenders.
They're wild card contenders.
Who would you rather have mentoring Wilson, Carr or Tannehill?
Carr.
I'd take Tannehill.
Pass.
Okay. We'll see. I honestly don't think either one's going to end up in New York. I think Carr's going to end up in New Orleans, and Tannehill's probably going to end up in Arizona.
That
replacing Kyler.
That's a good call that he could go there as a stopgap.
As a 1 year and then maybe the backup.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right off into the Chad Henne sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Could be.
Yeah, that's another thing. Of course, the Chiefs, Chad Henne retired after the Super Bowl.
Supposedly.
They may talk him out of that.
I mean, I could see him be a Week 10 re-sign next year for that insurance policy down the stretch. Sign him to the practice squad, throw him a couple bones. He knows the system.
It also depends, I think, if they go through where they make a emergency quarterback a mandatory type thing, so we do not have a repeat of running back.
Christian McCaffrey
becomes the quarterback in a key game.
You don't like second baseman pitching? Come on, what the heck?
I don't mind second baseman pitching in a blowout. I don't want to see them pitching in a playoff game.
Right.
True.
When it's 2-2 in the 8th, I do not want to see a position player coming to the mound.
Bring in the right fielder.
I mean, if it's
Unless his name's
Shohei Ohtani, then I'm in.
If it's Ohtani, it's the relief pitcher.
I mean, there are a few of those guys you could have done that with back in the day, but
Yeah, you could bring in Winfield as the relief pitcher.
right. Yeah.
I'll pitch one guy, then we'll go back out there.
I don't want to get in the box with Dave Winfield on the mound.
I want the righty-righty matchup rather than the righty-lefty matchup. So we'll put the lefty in the right field and let Winfield pitch to him.
Yep.
So we talked a little bit about Raj. He's going on his darkness retreat. He was on
now.
McAfee yesterday, basically saying Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter don't know crap, but he didn't say crap.
Don't know.
And he
Shinola.
says these people are not in my inner circle. They do not know my inner circle.
Well, I mean, all you got to say about Raj is he is a Berkeley guy. So, I mean, this whole dark for 4 days thing. Who decided it's 4 days? I mean, why not a week, a month?
There's research that's showing deprivation tanks like darkness stuff does. After about 96 hours, you start really being about after 72 hours, you really start to get to know your inner self because all the onions peeled. And you get to know who you really want at that point in time.
All right. He's going to come out being Batman or he's going to come out being Jello. I'm Batman.
Yeah, hard to say.
He's going to come out being Joker.
Another thing, Dalvin Cook had shoulder surgery, so he's had problems with his shoulders pretty much his entire career. I think this is either his third or his fourth shoulder surgery. Probably not a big deal, but remember, he's the only running back signed long-term in Minnesota right now. Madison's going to be a free agent.
Well, Cook's going to be cut in about a month.
He's going to be cooked.
Literally
he-
cut from the team.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Well,
We'll see.
probably be a restructure, would be my guess. Calvin Ridley applied for reinstatement today, which was the first day he was eligible to do that. Remember, he has been on gambling suspension for a little over a year. Tom Brady's officially filed his retirement papers. That means, of course, nothing because he can file another paper that unretires him.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say if things start going bad with the Brock Purdy surgery / recovery, I would definitely think that that's a potential destination for Tom Brady.
The other guy will be ready by the time the season starts.
Mm-hmm. We'll
The guy
see.
they gave up 3 firsts for.
Trey Lance?
Yes.
Well, he's ready now, but, he's one play Trey, so we don't know what his status is.
Oh, that one's going to stick.
That one's already stuck. I've seen that.
That one's going to stick.
It's not going to stick. That one's his name now.
Oh.
Imagine it being his girlfriend.
That's
Ooh,
That's
on Valentine's Day, no less.
that's allegedly what he's called by a few players in the locker room.
Ouch.
Rough.
That one's going to hurt for a long time.
Another few things here. Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, and
That was easy for
Jordan
you to
Love.
say.
It was because it's not spelled the way it's not pronounced the way it's spelled. And Jordan Love, all eligible for extensions now. This is all their time.
Hurts, Burrow, and Herbert will get one just like you got lived out here.
Yeah, back up the truck for those guys.
Tua won't. Love, they're going to give the 5th-year extension, see how he does playing next year. Didn't make the decision.
I think the whole thing with Love will be whether or not they move Rodgers.
Oh, Rodgers is moving. There's no doubt about that. When he retires, he goes someplace else. Rodgers is gone.
And so in that case, I think you're exactly right. They'll sign Love. They'll just pick up his extension. Actually, I'm not sure. I guess
This is his 5th year next year.
They still have the option to pick up his extension, his 5th year. So they'll do that, and then they'll see what they've got.
Yep.
And make the decision there. The other key player not mentioned in here is, of course, Lamar Jackson and what may or may not happen with him.
He's going to be traded. He's going to be tagged and traded.
I can't agree more with that. I just do not see how they keep going down this rabbit hole because I think they want to put I almost think that they put the transition tag on him, not the franchise tag.
No, they got to put the franchise tag on him because the transition tag teams will pay, which is just 1 first-round draft pick, I believe.
It's 1 first.
Well, I'll give that for Lamar any day of the week.
But the other thing it allows him to do is to go out and get a contract and Baltimore the ability of first refusal.
Yeah, I'll give
a quick draw contract. So basically they could go out there and Baltimore could look at it and go, oh, we love this deal. We'll give you this deal. We're going to match it. You're ours.
Mm-hmm. But I think they give the franchise tag and trade because they don't want to deal with him anymore.
I think that's part of it. But when you do that transition, you put all the work on Lamar then.
Yeah, but you just tag him, trade him, get it over with. We'll take the 2 firsts from Atlanta this year, next year for him. We'll trade him to, they're not going to trade him to AFC. They're going to trade him NFC. They trade him to, you pick the team.
Atlanta, New Orleans, Tampa.
I don't
Carolina.
I don't think the last 2 teams you mentioned there with Tampa and New Orleans can afford his salary cap hit in order to be able to get him.
No, Carolina's probably the only option there.
Carolina, Atlanta.
Carolina allegedly is the 3rd favorite to land Derek Carr.
I'll tell you who'd be interesting to see with Lamar is the Rams. Sean McVay and his brain with that kind of a
talent,
joystick Xbox type guy in the backfield running.
I would love to see Lamar Jackson in Minnesota with Jefferson.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lot of speed on the field.
Mm-hmm. How you going to stop it? As long as Lamar's healthy. And by the way, if I was a GM, I would not give 2 first up for Lamar because I think he's fragile.
Yeah,
and he's also a cancer in the locker room. It seems like.
Well, he's a running back playing quarterback, and what is the shelf life of a running back in this league
About
these days?
5 years.
There you have it.
Yeah,
I would not give up 2 firsts for him, but there's going to be some sucker team that does. Just
guaranteed. There'll be 5 of them lined up to do it.
Denver gave up all that crap for Russ, and we told them not to last year.
Well, clearly they should listen to the damn show.
I don't disagree. If they would have, they wouldn't have Russ, would they?
Well,
all right. Well,
and Green Bay would have traded Rodgers 2 years ago rather than try to trade him now.
That's true. They should have definitely done that. All right, let's jump out here real quick, get the words from the sponsors. We'll come back a little bit more draft talk.
After you've listened to Warsquared and have your lineups locked in for the week, we invite you to go over and check out 3 Dogs and a Dude. It's a podcast inspired by 3 crazy rescue dogs and their dude who like having conversations with interesting people. You never know who might pop into the studio as a guest, and we guarantee some laughs. Check out 3 Dogs and a Dude wherever you get your podcasts. Indian Media Productions is your one-stop shop for all of your media creation needs. Whether it's producing a podcast like the one you're listening to, or maybe you just need some video for your social media and websites, sales and promotional videos, or even TV commercials, we've got you covered. Check us out at IndianMediaPro.com.
All right, we'll jump back in here a little bit about the draft stuff like we were talking about. McShay's mock draft 2.0 came out today. And he kind of does it with Mel Kiper, and they argue and bicker back and forth about it. But one of the things they said, look, we've got to do it because I really think it's going to happen. And he had the Bears trading the first pick to the Colts.
Shocker.
And he has the Colts taking Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
name me the last successful Ohio State quarterback. I'll wait.
I can't think of one.
Exactly why you don't draft an Ohio State quarterback.
Yeah, the only key thing that they pointed out in this, they had the Texans taking C.J. Stroud. The thing that they pointed out was look at the Georgia game, which is basically an NFL level defense.
Mm-hmm. It was.
And he did sprint outs, rollouts, ran, I think, for 35 or 40 yards, and passed the ball well, threw the ball on the run, all things he did not do at Ohio State.
By the way, I hope that the Colts trade up and draft him, because that will doom them to being, in my opinion, also ran in the NFL for the next 5 years.
I think C.J. Stroud could be the player out of this draft. I don't know.
The player out of this draft is the outside linebacker from Alabama.
I mean, the quarterback out of this draft. I mean, I think he could
Levitt. I'll take Levitt from Tennessee, from Kentucky.
I don't know.
Size, strength, arm speed. He played an offense that's pro ready. Put up good numbers in the SEC with a understaffed team.
Yeah, one of the things they said is he had a much better year last year. His receivers were injured. His offensive line was down and young. His running backs were young and injured. This year, he did not play as well as he did last year.
And if I had my choice of the three, if I had one, I'm ruling Stroud out. I would never touch Stroud as a GM because name the last successful Ohio State quarterback. Alabama, they got a whole litany of successful NFL quarterbacks, including 3 right now that I can name.
Yeah.
But Bryce Young is 5'10" and a half and 190 pounds.
So was Drew Brees. Next question.
The interesting one that I read today had Chicago trading that pick. Not that pick. Trading Justin Fields to the Panthers for 9 and next year's 1. Bears turn around and draft Bryce Young. Interesting thought there.
That's if they.
I think he's a next level from where Justin Fields is or will be.
I think that Justin Fields is a great running quarterback in NFL who has to have an offense completely built specifically for his skill set, which means if he gets injured, you have no backup for that.
He's a poor man's Lamar Jackson right now. And we just had that conversation about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
How long? What's the shelf life on a Justin Fields?
5 to 7 years.
Would
tops.
you rather have Justin Fields in Indianapolis, where Shane Steichen can build the offense around him a la Jalen Hurts? You've got Michael Pittman. You've got Alec Pierce. You've got Jonathan Taylor. Those are all way better than any of the players they have in Chicago
or Carolina.
It's going to come down to who's willing to give up the GOAT on those picks and the assets on the back end
and what they want. Because
and if they value Fields with 2 years of NFL experience more than a true rookie.
I mean, and again, you saw what Fields did, and almost every place he did that on was on grass. I mean, on that turf in Indianapolis, he should be running all over the place.
Or he blows a knee out in week 3.
And of the 3 quarterbacks, Young has his drawbacks with height, which doesn't really bother me that much because look at all the Drew Brees. There's a lot of smaller quarterbacks who are very successful in the NFL.
Yeah, but Drew Brees wasn't successful until he got with Sean Payton.
He was successful the year before he got with Sean Payton.
When he blew out his
shoulder? when he was in
San Diego,
and he
blew
had
out
a
his
very
shoulder.
successful year that year. Blew out his shoulder. They drafted Rivers the year before, and Rivers was going to replace him, but Brees had an outstanding season that made it where they could. Which one do you choose?
I'm going to need the research on that. I'm going to say it wasn't an outstanding season. I'm going to say it was very mediocre.
I'm going to say it was an outstanding season.
Okay.
And then he ends up choosing to go to New Orleans, and the rest is history. Bryce Young with the right coach. Stitching in Indianapolis would be a great setup for him to be at that point in time, especially with the weapons around him. But the one who I would look at the most would be Levitt. I think Levitt's going to be the one you want out of this one because of his size, his readiness to be able to walk in and take over an offense now, and his arm, I think, is the best of those 3.
Now, McShay's mock draft had the Raiders taking him at 7. And the Raiders, I didn't get this updated. I remembered it after I'd already put this stuff together. But with cutting Derek Carr, they've got nearly $45 million in cap space now. They have the 3rd most cap space.
And also lead the league in dead money by a long shot.
Well, until Tennessee gets done cutting people coming up here.
Well, that's true.
Going to be an interesting month.
Can you? I can't even imagine what the Buccaneers and the Saints are going to have to do.
Oh, the Buccaneers are going to have to. I'm not sure they can get under the cap, to tell you the truth.
Well, and then there's the Niners who have what? 35 players under contract?
Yeah,
right. Not a whole lot of room.
They'll be able to
$3.35 million. Yeah.
They'll that as we've said in the past, salary cap issues are not a salary. There is no such thing as a salary cap in the NFL. It's a mythical number they have to get underneath, and they can do that any myriad of ways. Just ask the Rams.
But when you're 20 players light,
yeah,
that's a lot of players.
That means 20 rookies at the minimum salary for a year, and that's what minimum salary is $800,000.
Yeah,
so that's $16 million.
But they're going to go to the bank of Trent Williams, and they're going to give him a potload of money and do the voidable years thing that you're going to extend him out 5 years. So 3 years from now, he'll be getting paid money against the cap and won't even be playing in the NFL.
Bobby Bonilla Jr.
The team that screwed the most by far, Tampa Bay. When Tommy B retired, That's good. They have to take that whole $35 million salary cap hit this year.
Well, and they're still paying the price for him playing quasi GM while he was down there. I want this guy, I want this guy, I want this guy, and pay him. He doesn't care about the finances.
Yep.
Right.
He had that FTX money. He didn't care.
Yep. How'd that work out for him?
And like we've said before, I mean, they're stuck with players like Julio Jones, and they're not stuck with Leonard Fournette, but they're stuck with a Mike Williams. They're going to be stuck with probably Chris Godwin.
Oh, yeah.
Yikes.
It's going to be
the lineman.
Burn it down and rebuild.
The Tampa Bay team is going to be ugly this year and next year before they even have a chance to see heads above shoulders, just like the Saints are last year or this year and this coming year, unless they're able to redo Michael Thomas's contract and make that reasonable.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Especially with how that guy is not
means,
playing.
You know who the best team in the NFC South is right now?
The Panthers.
By far, even without a quarterback.
The Falcons may be the best team at the start of the season. They've got like $58 million in cap space.
Mm-hmm. And if they trade for Lamar, they're the instant favorite 51. In that division easily.
Yeah, they get a quarterback in there, and they are in pretty good shape.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you can sign him to a contract like he can, where his cap hit this year is going to be about $20-25 million. They still have enough money to put players around them. And they get to keep most of the draft capital, probably a first this year, first next year to get Lamar.
They've got 58 players signed.
What would David Carr look like in Atlanta?
He looked pretty good in Atlanta, I think.
That'd be interesting.
You know, David Carr.
I haven't heard that one,
Derek
but
Carr.
Derek, yeah.
He's not a bad quarterback, folks. He's not a bad quarterback at all. He throws a pretty pass. He's got 9 years in the NFL experience. He's going to be successful wherever he goes, provided he has a team that can help support him.
I mean, his career took a 2-year hit when the whole Gruden thing happened.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
If Gruden's still there, Carr's a Pro Bowler.
Yes.
I don't disagree.
That's just
if Carr doesn't break his leg in 2016, they're a serious Super Bowl contender at that point in time.
Yep. But yeah, that's just a thought.
Yeah.
With all that money they've got down there, I know a guy who'd take some of it.
Yeah,
for sure. And that should be where a lot of guys are going to end up. I mean, you might see a lot of these Eagles. There are a lot of Eagles that are free agents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but do you want to walk away from that unless you have to? Because that team's going to be good for the next 3 to 5 years with what this GM has been able to do.
It all depends on how much of it Jalen Hurts is going to eat up.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to eat up a lot.
He can't eat up a lot over the next 2 years. All he'll be able to eat up, well, actually next year he will.
Because he was a second round player, not a first round. So they get that 4-year contract, not the 5-year possibility.
Right. And so all he'll have next year added on is the salary bonus, whatever bonus money is on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
And remember this, that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young both made more this year in their NIL money than Jalen Hurts did in salary.
They both probably made more NIL money this year than they'll make next year in the NFL.
Can they come back to college for another year?
There's more money there. Just ask the kid from the kid from Florida who signed there.
And then transferred, I think, to Arizona State. Is that what I read?
I don't know where he finally ended up.
He signed an NIL deal over $13 million. In Florida, the boosters withdrew the contract.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, he's suing them to fulfill that contract, even though he's not in school.
Of course he is.
Then he signed another school where they guaranteed him, what was it, $9 million NIL over 3 years?
Yeah, I think it's Arizona State. I think I remember seeing that.
Wow. Wow.
I think I've still got some eligibility left. Shit.
Wow. Just unbelievable.
I mean, we do it for 100,000.
Well, I saw a stat today.
10,000. I mean, I'm pretty cheap.
This year there are over 6,200 college kids in football alone in the transfer portal. 6,200.
Yeah.
It started out and it was like 2,000 the first year. 1,500, 2,000. It's incrementally stepped up. Over 6,000 now.
There was a stat that it was the basketball one last year where let's say there was 500 kids that entered the transfer portal for basketball. 28% got new letters of intent with a different school. The other 72% are now playing in Division II or lower.
Yeah.
So maybe this enter the transfer portal might not be that good of a thing, folks.
Well, the cream always rises to the top. It's the way it usually works out. And if the talent's there, they're going to find you.
Yep.
Crazy stuff. Did we talk about the NFL honors last week? I don't remember.
We talked about them a little bit. No, they They did not announce the winners of that till this week.
Okay. So just so we can go recap those, the MVP of the league was Patrick Mahomes. Big shocker. He's the MVP of the league and the MVP of the Super Bowl. Now, that was a big news because the MVP of the league had not won the Super Bowl since 1999 when Kurt Warner did it. So that was big news that Pat did that.
Thanks for rubbing that one in.
9 MVPs have been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, thanks for rubbing that one in, Tom.
Until Pat broke.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Do you want me to talk again about how they were stopped a yard short?
No, we could have passed that.
Was it a whole yard? Was it a whole yard?
It was like
I think it was
a yard
like
and a half.
6 inches.
Yeah.
About like that.
It was close.
I see what you did there.
Coach of the year was Brian Daboll of the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that can make Danny Dimes useful, I'll give it to him.
Oh,
Yeah.
preach on. Comeback player of the year, Geno Smith.
Not a surprise.
Not a huge surprise there. I think Doc didn't think that he should qualify for that for some reason.
To me, the comeback player of the year was put in for somebody who was injured and came back and had to play. Not a guy who had been a career backup this whole time, then all of a sudden became a starter. How can he come back when he was in the league last year and playing and eligible to play?
Well, I got to tell you, I thought that they would go to him because of the way he played last year when Russ was injured. And I thought he played okay, but I did not think he was going to be Pro Bowl caliber this year.
Yeah, I don't think,
So can I get early odds on Russ being comeback player of the year next year?
none.
Yes, you can.
Asking for a friend.
I'm sure it's out there.
Now that they kicked the coach out of the thing, he might stand a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Offensive player of the year, Justin Jefferson. That's a huge shocker. Defensive player of the year, Nick Bosa. Again, shocking.
Horribly.
Amazing. Offensive rookie of the year, Garrett Wilson. Now, this one was a little shocking because Kenneth Walker actually had the most first place votes, but he had enough people who voted him like 4th and 5th.
Yeah, his total points racked it up.
Right, because Garrett Wilson had tons of 2s and 3s.
Yeah. Well, Kenneth Walker didn't play enough games with which to qualify. I would have put him 3rd, 4th, or 5th, not 1st or 2nd, just because he only played 11 games. And I like Walker. I think Walker's he was the second best rookie running back in the NFL last year.
Well, no, he was the best that played he played the most.
Well, it depends on what your game's played threshold is.
Yeah.
I think is where that one's going to go.
I was going off talent.
I know where you're going there, Doc.
Breece
Hall was the most talented.
Had he played the entire season or at least not missed 10 games, he would if he would have played 6 more games, he would have put up the numbers to be the rookie of the year.
Yeah, if you played the same number of games that Walker did, it's not a question.
Yeah. And the great thing, if you're a Jets fan, Mark Shook, future looks bright if you can get the trigger man.
Yeah, but they're still the goddamn Jets. They're going to find a way to screw it up.
Well, speaking of the Jets, defensive rookie of the year, Sauce Gardner. This wasn't close.
No, it shouldn't have been. He should have got 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th place ballots on everybody.
He still hasn't given up a touchdown.
I'd like to see where he was in overall defensive player of the year, not just rookie.
He should have been in the top 5.
Yeah, I'll bet he's pretty close.
We'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
Walter Payton, man of the year and recipient of tons of boos at the Super Bowl, Dak Prescott.
That was funny.
Which I found shocking because Arizona is actually a hotbed of Dallas fans.
I'll show you how much.
But it was Eagles fans in the building. Well, you think they're going to cheer for a Cowboy?
Well, true.
Come on, man.
And Chiefs fans who were former Dallas
how well
Texans.
respected Dak is within the Cowboy field. They all hate him too.
That's what the Eagles fans wanted to do.
Tommy's always wrong.
That's right.
They're gonna cheer Dak and boo everybody else because that the reverse psychology thing.
Oh yeah, it's
everybody hates Dak. Haven't you realized that out? Dak is the most hated man in the NFL right now. Prove me wrong.
I don't know that.
I don't know how you do that, but
I don't know that.
Put a name out there you think who would be higher than him.
Maybe Russell Wilson.
In Denver, yes, but not everywhere else because we're glad to see Denver suck.
And then the Hall of Fame class was Rondy Barber, Darrelle Revis, Joe Thomas, Zach Thomas, DeMarcus Ware, Don Coryell, Chuck Howley, Joe Klecko, and Ken Riley. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say I had to look up Chuck Howley and Ken Riley because I didn't know who they were.
My only question is, where's Bud Adams at on this list? The former owner of he passed away, the owner of the Titans and Oilers, who was the co-founder. They signed the contracts for all the AFC stuff in his office in Houston. Why isn't he in the Hall of Fame yet?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Should be. So tell me about Ken Riley.
So Ken Riley was a cornerback for the Bengals.
Okay.
And when he retired, he was actually the 4th leading interceptor. He was number 4 behind Dick Night Train Lane, Donnie Shell, and somebody else. I'm not going to pull the other.
Tommy really needs to get a life.
Does.
And maybe rent some friends.
Well, I looked it up.
Can he afford him is the next question.
Wow.
I had to look it up because I didn't know who he was. And Chuck Howley was a Cowboys linebacker. He was actually a Super Bowl MVP.
At linebacker. That's impressive.
Last century, not this century.
Yeah, well.
Yeah,
Early last century.
We
almost had a defensive MVP this year. Almost. I think if Bolton's second touchdown stands, he might have been the MVP.
He wins it.
Or if Tony returns that punt for a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big play.
Yep.
That was big. Of these, kind of go to Doc's point, Rondy Barber, he's kind of a borderline guy to me.
I don't think I would have put him in. I wouldn't have put Revis in either.
Revis, for like a 5-year period, was the best cornerback in football.
Wasn't long enough.
Wasn't close.
Wasn't long enough. He's borderline at that point in time, not a first or second ballot Hall of Famer.
I think he's a 2-time winner, Super Bowl winner with the Patriots. I'm pretty sure he won defensive MVP multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, he was Deion-esque. I mean, he shut down the side of the field. He's what Sauce Gardner.
He was, for 5 years, he was great. There's no doubt. But what happened before that 5-year period and after that 5-year period? Not a lot.
I'm not sure what happened before that reign really started,
but it was like the third year of his career that he actually took off and became that good.
Okay.
Which is a normal process. Joe Thomas, no doubt, Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Hey, have you seen him?
Yeah, he looks great.
Oh my God, he's half of a man.
He's lost 160 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way if that dude walks in the room, you thought it was Joe Thomas.
No.
If you haven't seen him in the last 3 years, no clue you thought that was him.
Zach Thomas, borderline Hall of Famer, in my opinion. DeMarcus Ware, borderline Hall of Famer.
The more you heard about Zach Thomas, the more you heard of, like, from people from saying he was the Peyton Manning on defense. He was calling out where you were going to go. And you're just like, how does he know this? I mean, Peyton Manning was one of the leaders of that. He was like, I hated playing against him because when I checked out of a play to another play, he called where it was going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But still yet a borderline Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
Oh, I'm sure that a lot of people feel that way about Bud Adams.
I'm sure they do too.
And DeMarcus Ware, a sack leader. I mean, what do you have? 6 or 7 years of 10+ sacks between the Cowboys and the Broncos?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm just not super excited about this class. There's not that. This is not one of those, oh my God, it's a slam dunk instant.
There's
Hall
one
of
player in
Famer.
this class that I think is an instant Hall of Famer, and that's Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
He was in.
Joe Coryell should have already been in.
Don Coryell?
Yep, should have already been in.
Mm-hmm. Joe Klecko should have been in. He should have been in over Mark Gastineau or in a bunch of those other Jets defensive players because he was the heart and soul of that defensive line.
Chuck Howley should have probably been in a few years back, as should have Ken Riley.
Yeah. That's Veterans Committee's there for a reason.
Right. And that's why they're getting in there, is because they're recognizing the guys who were great, who were the leaders back in the day. And now we're getting to a glut of, we have these good players, but this is also what Deion Sanders wants, is he wants the penthouse, for the guys who are the legends.
Yeah,
like,
that's what it should be.
5 years from now, if everything holds steady, you're talking about Tom Brady and J.J. Watt walking into the Hall of Fame together.
And those should be the only two people going in at that point in time that I can see.
But that's not the way it goes.
No, they have these guys that get 71% of the vote rather than not 85% of the vote, and they get in. Taking the, there's still great players. Do not get me wrong.
You've got to do that. I mean, because you've got,
why?
Unlike baseball, where you have 10 people or 9 people on the field all at one time, you've got 22.
And of that 22, the only ones that really are the superstars are maybe 4 to 7.
On both sides of the ball?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
And of that 4 to 7,
it could be 7.
And of that 4 to 7, there's probably 1 to 3 that deserve in the Hall of Fame.
There's 1 to 3 that deserve to be
in Hall of Fame mentioning
in this Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
There's
probably 0 that deserve to be in this one.
And when you go to the Super Hall of Fame, the Prime Hall of Fame, I guess we could call it, I think you have to be, these are guys where it's not a question. Like you say, J.J. Watt, Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
3 defensive MVP.
Tom
Player of the
Brady,
years.
Hall of Fame.
Just make the reservations now.
Yeah, the people you know are going in the Hall of Fame should be in the Hall of Fame. The people who are borderline, let's.
It's like Tobin said earlier.
Not.
Travis Kelce, 5 years after he retires, will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's no doubt. Patrick Mahomes, even if his career ended next year, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Because
just look at what he's done. The body of work's there.
He's got 5 years, started for 5 years, 6-year career, five AFC championship games, 3 Super Bowls, won 2 of them.
Two league MVPs.
Really can't argue with that.
2-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time Super Bowl MVP.
I can't wait to see 3 more years from now. There's absolutely no doubt.
Yeah.
This point in time, 90% chance.
Yeah, he's there.
No doubt.
I can't argue with that point. It's just.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But
no
with
doubt.
That, what are we going to talk about next week?
Next week, we should have a lot more to talk about as far as leading into draft talk, free agency, as we're preparing for that. Also, I think we're 2 weeks from free agency or 3 weeks.
March 15th, I think. March 16th.
We're 4 weeks from free agency. Yeah. But we'll know what A-Rod is going to do next week at this time.
Wear sunglasses?
Where he's going to play. Whether he's going to play or not, and whether he wants to be traded or not, we'll find out next week at this time.
Yeah, well, Derek Carr may be signed tomorrow. We don't know.
Yeah, and if he is, then
he's available.
Power to
now.
him. Yeah.
Right now.
There's just
His agent was brilliant in negotiating it that way because he's going to get the max dollars now, whereas he gets pulled with everybody else is going to get cut. Dollar value is going to probably drop.
Yeah, I think that I could still see him in New Orleans. I think New Orleans was the only one that really acquired.
New Orleans acquired.
He had a 2-day meeting there. Mm-hmm. They were willing to trade for him. He told them, no, don't trade for me.
I think that was wink, wink, nod, nod. We'll pay you more if you just walk, and we'll structure the deal how you want.
Why should I pay any draft comp? Why should I make you give any draft compensation up when I can walk in here in 2 days and join you?
Yep, you save us a fifth or whatever. Because, like we said last week, who's going to give up anything when there's no leverage there?
Now, they would give up a compensatory third because those can now be traded.
Right.
So but by him being cut, since he was cut,
there's zero compensation.
Come back to Las Vegas.
And we talked all about New Orleans. They're going to have to cut veterans and go way young.
They're going to have to cut. They're going to be cutting so much the bone's going to be nicked.
Yep.
Okay,
for sure.
So,
that'll be fun.
So next week we'll talk lots more about that, and we'll find out where A-Rod is going to be at.
Maybe.
With that,
we're out of here.
We're out of here, folks.
Hope everybody had a happy Valentine's Day. See ya.
Everybody be safe this week. The weather's going to be bad, supposedly.
Allegedly.
Just listen to the champ. How about those Chiefs?
That's Chiefs' last words.